Martell, yeah.
Move the podium right there. Please, clerk, and raise your right hand.
You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, ma'am.
Have a seat, ma'am. First, please.
State your name for the court, please.
Juliana Martell.
Okay. You might want to spell that if you could for the court reporter.
Julianna, and my last name is Martel.
Okay. Where were you living in June of 2013?
I was living in Nashville in the Wesley Apartments on 21st.
Okay. And what were you doing in Nashville?
I was taking an organic chemistry class.
Okay. And what year were you in at Vanderbilt at that time?
It was right after my freshman year.
Okay. And what was your major?
Medicine, Health, and Society.
Okay. Were you also working part-time that summer?
Yes, sir. I was helping out with some of the football camps.
Okay. And you mean football camps for who? Who attended these football camps that you worked at?
Middle schoolers and high schooler football players would come and practice and do some workouts and things
Okay.
like that.
And when did you graduate from Vanderbilt?
I just recently graduated. I graduated in December 2015, and then I just walked across the stage in May.
Okay. And what's your plans for the future?
I'm planning on going to med school starting in August.
Okay. Have you decided where you're going to med school yet?
Not yet. I'm still narrowing it down.
Okay. And did you...
We were on the dance team together at Vanderbilt, and we became friends.
Okay. And what's the dance team exactly? What was your function?
So the dance team is part of the Spirit program at Vanderbilt, and it's kind of similar to cheerleading in the fact that during all football games and basketball games, you're on the sideline cheering the team on. And dance team was just more dance-oriented, whereas cheer was more tumbling and stunts.
Okay. What about the defendant, Brandon Vandenberg? Did you know him?
Yes, sir.
And how did you know Mr. Vandenberg?
So I met him first when he came and was visiting Vanderbilt. I think he decided he was going to come and play football there, and so he was hanging out with some of the football guys that I'm friends with, and so I met him briefly during that time, and then he moved to Nashville, and so I knew him a little bit
Okay.
after that.
Where were you approximately midnight on June the 22nd of 2013?
I was at the Tin Roof.
And what is the Tin Roof?
It's a hangout spot in Nashville.
Okay. Did you see with Miss Lackey or by?
And then whenever we got there, she arrived pretty soon after,
Okay.
and was with some of the girls on the dance team, and they were all taking pictures and things like that.
Okay. So that was sometime after midnight then?
I'm not sure exactly the time on when she arrived, but it was probably around then.
Did you talk to her, have any conversation with her?
Yes, sir. I saw her at first when she first arrived, and we went up and talked and hugged and had a normal conversation.
Okay. How would you describe her demeanor at that time?
I thought it was completely normal. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary.
Okay. Did you see Brandon Vandenberg that night also?
Yes, sir.
Where did you first see him?
I first saw him at the Bristol Apartments. We had gone there before going to the Tin Roof, but as soon as my roommate and I arrived, everyone was already leaving for Tin Roof and getting in cabs. So
But you did see him there?
Yes, sir.
Did you engage him in conversation or anything?
Nothing that I would have noticed. If anything, it was just a hello.
Okay. Did you notice anything unusual about him at that time?
No, sir.
Did you later see him at the Tin Roof?
Yes, sir, he was there.
Who was he with when you saw him at the Tin Roof, if you recall?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't have really paid attention to him.
Did you observe him, any unusual behavior at that time from him?
I didn't see anything.
Okay. You didn't have a lot of interaction with him, though, did you?
No, sir. I did not know him very well.
Approximately what time did you leave the tin roof, if you know?
I left around 1:30 that evening.
Okay. How would you describe her level of intoxication at that time when you were talking to her?
I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary, nothing abnormal. She seemed completely fine.
So you weren't concerned about her at all?
Not at all.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for you.
All right, cross-examination.
You don't have to do it from over here, over there.
You can do it either side. It's up to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Martell.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Great, thank you.
Now, I think you stated you first met Brandon when he visited Vanderbilt.
Yes, sir.
And that was, I'm sorry,
Mr. Vandenberg.
What did I say?
Brandon Vandenberg.
I'm sorry, Judge. Brandon Vandenberg. And you actually met him through some friends of yours.
Right. I believe he's with some of the other football players.
Okay. And you were...
Yes, sir.
And you worked at that time with the Vanderbilt football offices.
Right, so I started working that summer, and I continued working through the fall semester.
Okay. And did you help with the recruiting?
So I helped out with the camps, and that was pretty much what I did when the middle schoolers and high schoolers would come, and I would help hand out t-shirts, and I would help them record the times of their running speeds. I would help the coaches with that. And then once the fall semester started, I worked more in operations, ordering gear and figuring out which players would go on the plane and copying papers and that sort of thing.
Okay. So you had quite a bit to do with the football program.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I want to talk to you about the June 22nd.
Okay.
Okay. And this Bristol Apartments,
Yes.
where you saw Mr. Vandenberg, that was kind of a football gathering.
It was a private event, and there were some football players there. There were some non-football players there. There's some girls there. It was a mix of people.
What, do you remember testifying at previous proceeding in this matter?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember saying that Mr. Vandenberg, that you had seen him at the football gathering?
I might have used that phrasing.
Okay. Now, at the tin roof, you went there, would you say probably around midnight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you were there into the early morning.
Right, or until around 1:30.
Okay. Now, you also said there was a woman there named Angie?
Yes,
Okay,
from what I know.
from what you know.
Yes, sir.
And Angie was buying drinks?
Everyone talks about how Angie buys drinks for the football players.
Okay. And she does that quite often?
And from what I know, yes.
Okay. And spends quite a bit of money doing that?
Well, place some object unless she has independent knowledge, but it's not what people
Yeah,
tell
she
her.
has to have personal knowledge, and from what she hears, it's not personal knowledge.
And do you recall testifying at the prior proceeding in this case, you said Angie was buying drinks for the football players. Do you recall that?
Yes, it's that night. People have been talking about it.
Okay. Now, you said that you saw Mr. Vandenberg at the tin roof,
Yes, sir.
but you didn't talk to him.
Not that I remember.
Okay. And you saw her talking with some people other than Mr. Vandenberg.
Right, yes, she arrived with a group of girls on the dance team.
And she was talking to a guy you didn't know.
Right.
Okay. And again, you saw her talking with several other people.
Yes, from what I saw. Yeah, she was taking pictures at first when I first got there, and I talked to her at some point, so.
Okay. And when you saw Brandon there that night, he seemed nice and friendly.
Right, I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary.
Yes. Do you remember talking with Mr. Zokola? Mr. Zokola interviewing you, the detective?
Oh, was that the detective side?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And do you remember telling him that Brandon seemed nice and friendly?
Yes.
Okay. And you said
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Judge.
Yes, sir. I knew they had met before and hung out before.
And she had blacked out before from drinking?
Check to that, Your Honor. That's an improper question. She asked her if she was ever with her, I guess.
Right. Got to go with personal knowledge.
I'll withdraw that question, Judge. That's fine.
All right.
Now, and do you remember when you talked with Detective Zokola, you and when you all left, her and Mr. Vandenberg went their way and you and your friends went your way?
I remember I left right. There was a car accident outside, so I left when that happened, and I just, rushed out to see what was going on. And after that, I didn't go back in, and I realized it was time to go home. I was pretty tired.
Okay. And Miss May I have just a moment, John, please?
Sure.
We have no further questions, Judge.
All right, redirect.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Next witness, Judge.
If we may ask that Ms. Martell remain available for further cross-examination if the occasion arises.
As a state.
I don't know what her plans are, Your Honor, please. Obviously, we haven't discussed that with her. I don't know whether she's planning to be out of town looking at medical schools. I don't know what she's planning to do.
Well, I mean, what are your immediate plans, Claire?
I was gonna fly out tomorrow and look at some medical schools. And I'll be in my decision.
It's something you pre-planned, obviously.
Yes, sir.
Well, at least you can stay around today.
Yes, sir. I'll be around.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Next witness is Captain Donnie Harville.
Have a seat, please.
Good afternoon, Captain Harville. Could you please state your full name for the record?
Yes, it's Donnie Wayne Harville.
And could you spell your last name for the court reporter, please?
Yes, ma'am. It's H-A-R-B-I-L-L-E.
Captain Harville, where are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed with the Vandenberg University Police Department, and I'm a captain over there, Criminal Investigation Division.
And how long have you been employed with Vanderbilt University Police Department?
About 5.5 years.
Prior to that, where were you employed?
I was attorney for the state of Tennessee in DCS and DHS Division, and before that I was a police officer for the city of Franklin Police.
And in 2013, what was your position with the Vanderbilt Police Department?
I was a lieutenant detective in the Criminal Investigation Division.
What are the duties of a lieutenant detective at Vanderbilt University Police Department?
The detective person at the Vandenberg University Police Department, we investigate all crimes that occur on Vandenberg property inside Nashville-Davidson County.
Could you explain what, if any, connection the Vanderbilt University Police Department has with the Metro Nashville Police Department?
Yes, Metro Nashville Police Department is the city, Davidson County Police Department, and we have a memorandum of understanding with them where they investigate certain crimes for the Vanderbilt Police Department. When major felonies happen on campus, they usually come in and assist us, or they can take the lead over the investigation. And we have a very strong cooperation with Metro Nashville Police Department.
And were you specifically involved in the investigation of an incident that occurred involving Mr. Vandenberg from June 23rd of 2013 in those early morning hours?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And could you explain how you became involved in that investigation?
Yes, ma'am. The housing unit was reviewing the video surveillance on the NICE system, and they came across some suspicious activity, and they alerted the Vandenberg Police Department to investigate.
So, help us out with the NICE system.
I'm sorry, sir. The NICE system is the university's video system that they have on campus in their dorms that we use to investigate, and also for security of the campus.
And the name NICE, is that just the name of the software or the company that provides it?
Yes, ma'am. It's Neptune Intelligence something. I can't remember the exact name of it, but we call it NICE as short for the system that is used.
Could you generally describe the surveillance cameras at Vanderbilt University campus?
Yes, for the NICE system, as I said, they're installed in the dorms and the hallways and the common areas on the outside of the buildings on the dorms on Vanderbilt's campus. But each system is every detective can log into the system and then look at the video on that system and pull the video from that system onto the DVD.
And how often, as a lieutenant detective, did you view surveillance video from the Vanderbilt system, just part of your regular duties?
It's a major part of our job. For myself, it was probably 30 to 40% of my job to look at video surveillance of an alleged crime or an event.
And the video surveillance cameras that you're viewing, obviously you have several years' experience doing that. Can you explain generally how do they work? Does every camera work exactly the same?
No, each camera.
Your foundation, Your Honor?
Well, I think if he spends a great deal of his time viewing video, he probably knows how it pretty much works. So, go ahead.
Thank you. The system, each camera itself is different. It depends on how the sensor is set on the camera. If it's set high, it's going to record non-stop. If it's set low, then it's going to take a lot of activity to start the camera to start recording. And each camera is actually a little different on that aspect of it.
And could you explain what you mean by sensor?
Each camera is set up to record based on movement or activity. And certain activity will cause the camera to start recording. And depending on how much activity it is, the camera will start recording.
And specifically, regarding the incident from June 23rd, 2013 in the early morning hours, Could you describe what you viewed? I believe you said it was suspicious activity was reported, but what did you view?
What we saw when we started looking at the video system, what we saw was 4 males carrying.
Jack, that's to the term we. If he's testifying to someone else, I don't have.
Yeah, you would have to tell what you said. All right?
I'm sorry. What I saw was 4 males carrying an unconscious female in Gillette Hall on the 2nd floor.
Were you by yourself when you viewed that video?
No.
And you just described Gillette Hall as the location. Could you give a description of Gillette Hall?
Yes, ma'am. Gillette Hall is one of our many dorms on Vandenberg campus in Nashville, and it's this particular location where I started to look at was on the 2nd floor.
And what type of dorm was Gillette Hall during June 2013?
In the summer of 2013, that particular hall was assigned to athletes of the university.
And I'm sorry if you've already said this, but it was at 1 level, 2 level. Could you describe the building?
I believe Gillette Hall is 6 levels.
And how many major entrances or exits are there to the building?
There's one on Gillette Circle, and there's one on the outside of the 2nd floor, and I believe there's 1 or 2 emergency exits, but the main entrances are 2 into Gillette Hall.
And you stated that you viewed 4 males carrying an unconscious female throughout that dorm. When were you notified about this incident?
I was notified on June 26th, in the morning of June 26th, which was a Wednesday.
Could you describe a little bit more specifically the video surveillance that you viewed? Are you viewing one camera, or what exactly did you view?
No, ma'am. As I said before, there's several camera systems, and what I did was I started looking at one camera of the incident, and I started looking at other cameras in the dorm to try to track the 4 males and the female inside that dorm.
And do you know approximately how many cameras that you viewed and captured video on?
It's been several. It's probably 20, 25. I'm not for sure. There's several cameras that I actually looked at to view the incident.
And as part of the investigation, I believe you said that you pulled surveillance from the system. Did you do that in this case?
Yes, I did.
And could you describe generally what you pulled?
On the NICE system, you pull a time frame from the NICE system, and then you got to download the player as well, the NICE player, because you have to reformat the DVD or the actual video into a different format to play it on another player. What I did was I downloaded the video from the NICE system and also the player where you can actually play the video from the NICE system.
And have you reviewed the surveillance video that was taken from what you pulled and prepared for this trial?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And have you viewed it in the converted format so that it will play on any computer?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And Your Honor, at this time I would ask that the witness be passed 3 items. I've shown both of these to defense counsel. The first is a diagram and the second is a set of 2 discs.
All right.
And Captain Harville, do you recognize the items that were just handed to you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
And the 2 discs, could you describe what those are?
These are the DVDs which the video surveillance from the NICE system was downloaded to.
And those DVDs, do they actually contain separate clips?
Yes, ma'am.
And the document that was handed to you, do you recognize that?
Yes, and this is a floor plan of the 2nd floor of Gillette.
And would it assist you in explaining the camera views from the surveillance video if we showed the floor plan to the jury so you can indicate where the cameras are?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time I would ask that the diagram be entered as the first numbered exhibit, and also I would request permission to publish that.
All right. And you want to put it up on the screen?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may publish it to the jury.
Okay, go right ahead. Put that up.
We know who prepared the diagram, so it's proper foundation.
Well, all right, you want to lay a foundation?
Captain Harville, could you describe the diagram, where it came from?
Yes, the diagram came from the Vandenberg University's floor plan in Slab Hall. Basically what I did is you get on their system and just download a picture of the floor plan. We got it actually from the building supervisor who did the floor plan.
And that diagram, is it a fair and accurate depiction of the floor plan of Gillette Hall?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Your Honor, I renew my request to publish it to the jury.
All right. Is it going to come up on the small screen as well, or not?
No, I had it set up to where it would
Whichever
just...
way, it's fine.
Just on the large screen, Your Honor? Detective Harville, are you able to see what's on the screen in front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
And I apologize, Captain Harville. Could you describe what's shown here and just describe the diagram as it relates to what we're about to see on the video surveillance?
Yes, ma'am. What you're looking at is a diagram of the second floor of Gillette Hall. The two E's you see, that's actually two elevators on the right-hand side. And then you go to your left, you go into the lobby of Gillette Hall with rooms on either side. And you keep going down. At the end of Gillette Hall, you see room 215 and 214. That's the end of Gillette Hall. You also see an exit sign. That's the steps going outside of Gillette Hall from the second floor.
And could you describe the exterior of the building, kind of what would be to the right of room 234 and 235 on the right side of this diagram?
There's nothing on the right side of the diagram. You come in Gillette Hall on the first floor and go up to the second floor. Besides those steps, that comes up to room 224 into the lobby. There's nothing on the outside. That's where the building is at.
And based on this diagram and your investigation of the case, what room was Brandon Vandenberg assigned to in June of 2013?
Mr. Vandenberg was assigned to room 213.
Captain Harville, you've already testified about the surveillance video and that the two discs in front of you, that those represent the clips that were pulled by you and prepared in preparation for the trial. Your Honor, at this time I would ask that those two discs be entered as the next exhibit.
That would be number 2 collectively.
And
I would respectfully request that we should, if he's going to show clips, but I would ask that the full video be admitted in court, not just clips.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I think you have the right to have that admitted into evidence. I don't know where it's located.
Your Honor, the state has no objection if the entire footage, I believe there's approximately 15 CDs that cover a time frame of about 10 hours each, if that is marked for identification for the record. However, I would object to the entirety of the footage being entered, as the majority of it is irrelevant.
Your Honor, if I may,
Go ahead.
The problem that we're facing is that those clips don't adequately show the jury what happened, because there's splices and everything. So I think the jury should see the entire video to see who's missing, who's not. I understand the position of the state, but Mr. Vandenberg, and he's entitled to have the jury review the entire video so they can see what actually is taking place.
Well, under the rule of completeness, that's probably true. Now, what the jury decides to see is going to be left up to the jury. I don't know if they're going to sit there. They're going to want to just sit there and look at essentially dead video. I don't know exactly how much is on there, but it's going to be the jury that decides how much they want to watch.
Captain Harville, do you know the total time of the surveillance video that you pulled?
Yes, ma'am. I believe I started pulling around 2:30 on Gillette Hall until 12 o'clock the next morning. So I believe that's about 10 hours on Gillette. And then if you count in East Hall, that's probably another 4 or 5 hours.
And there are approximately 10 to 20 discs of surveillance video.
I think there's about 20 discs, yes, DVDs, yes ma'am.
Your Honor, I renew my request to enter the 2 discs with the footage that was prepared for the trial by Lieutenant Harville and myself, and ask that that be entered into evidence.
All right, that will be. And
I would also ask permission to publish that to the jury at this time.
all right.
Captain Harville, are you able to see what is shown on the screen?
Yes ma'am.
And could you describe what is shown here? For the record, this is the first video clip that is on the first disc that was just entered as Exhibit 2A.
Yes, and that's Gillette Circle 2. That's the area right outside of the first floor, Gillette Hall. And the time stamp is 6/23/2013, and I believe it says 2/27/31.
She's at 2/27/33.
Okay, 2/27/33.
I am pressing play on this first video clip. If you could describe what is shown as we see it.
Yes, ma'am. It appears that there's a vehicle coming towards the circle with its headlights on. It appears that the vehicle is stopping. Appears that a person's now getting out of the vehicle, walking over to his left, and it appears he's walking up to the card reader at Gillette Hall.
And during your investigation, did you ultimately identify that person?
Yes, I did.
And who is that?
That is Brandon Vandenberg. And it appears that Mr. Vandenberg is talking to another person, actually 2 people.
And during your investigation, did you identify those persons?
Yes, I did.
And who are they?
The person in the white shirt and black shorts is Jaborian McKenzie, and the other person on to his right in black shirt and the camo pants is Brandon Banks. Appears now the door is open on the vehicle, and now another group of persons, 2 persons walking towards the vehicle.
And through your investigation, did you identify those two persons?
I did.
And who are they?
The person on the right-hand side in the blue jeans, the male, is Cory Batey, and the female to his left is It appears that Ms. Roaster is leaving, and it appears now that Mr. Vandenberg is picking up and carrying.
And this next clip, which these clips go from one to the next one, this is the second clip on the disc. Could you describe what view this is and what's shown here?
Yes, and this is inside the Gillette hall on the first floor, watching you walking from the circle, and this is a camera looking at those two doors that comes inside, and it says Gillette Circle entry, and the time, the date stamp is 6/23/2013, and the time is 2/31/38.
Could you describe, is there any system set up for entry into the dorm? Is there anything that has to be done?
Yes, and usually there is a card reader right outside, and usually the students will card read in on the card reader, and if it's a good card and they have actives to get in that dorm, the dorm doors will be unlocked.
And the area that we see on the right side of the screen, could you describe what that is?
Yes, that area is usually for a residential assistant to be at nighttime. However, in my investigation, there was not a residential assistant in that area to your right when Mr. Vandenberg came to the door.
I'm going to press play. And could you describe what's shown here?
Yes, that is Mr. McKenzie walking in the door. He's wearing a white shirt, black and white shorts, and carrying a bag on his left-hand side. The person who appears to be holding the door open in a gray shirt, I did not identify him. It appears that in the background, Mr. Vandenberg is carrying the victim.
We've been checking the language of the victim.
I think that's an issue we've dealt with previously, and he can use that word.
We're using the word alleged victim.
I have to use the word alleged victim.
Could you describe what's shown in this image, Captain Harville?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Vandenberg has the victim in his hands, carrying her. The unidentified black male is to his right in the gray, and behind him you see Mr. Batey, and then you see the person, the male coming in the door with the hat on. That's Mr. Banks.
This is the third clip on the surveillance video. Could you describe what is shown here?
Yes, and that is the elevators off the first floor. We're still on the first floor of Gillette Hall, and that's the area when you come right in from the doors, you go into the elevator area, and that's the two elevators of Gillette dorm. And I believe it says Gillette first floor elevator up top, and the time date is 6/23/2013, and time is 2/31/46.
And I have pressed play if you can describe what is shown.
That's Mr. McKenzie. Appears he's pushing the button to activate the elevator. That's Mr. Vandenberg still carrying the victim, and that's Mr. Banks with the red and black hat. And now Mr. Batey is coming into view. The elevator on the left-hand side is open. And now Mr. Banks appears he's holding the door open, and now Mr. Vandenberg is carrying the victim inside the elevator, and now he's placing her on the ground. That's Mr. Banks and Mr. Batey outside the elevator. Now Mr. Batey is going inside the elevator with Mr. McKenzie.
I just want to back up. I think you said Mr. Banks and Mr. Batey went outside the elevator.
That was Mr. Batey and Mr. McKenzie outside the elevator. And now the elevator door is closed, and Mr. Batey and Mr. McKenzie sit outside the elevator.
This is the fourth video clip on the disc. Could you describe what is shown here and what view this is?
Yes, that is Gillette elevator, I believe number 1. I believe it says number 1, and that's inside of the elevator we just watched. And the time frame is 6/23 of 2013, and the time stamp is 2/31/57, I believe.
I have press play. If you can describe what is shown.
The elevator door is open. And you see appears to be Mr. Banks standing there holding the door open with his left hand. Mr. Vandenberg's walking in with the victim in his arms. He's putting the victim on the floor of the elevator. And now Mr. Batey, Mr. McKenzie's came in the elevator. Now they're walking back out of the elevator. Now Mr. Vandenberg and Mr. Banks is in the elevator. It appears Mr. Vandenberg dropped something and picked it up. And now the door of the elevator is reopened. Mr. Vandenberg stepped out of the elevator. Now Mr. Banks is kind of in the door frame of the elevator. Mr. Vandenberg's outside of the elevator now. It appears he's going to his left into the bathroom. Now Mr. Banks is standing inside the, I guess, the door frame of the elevator.
And can you describe his attire, just for the record?
Yes, ma'am. He's having a red and it looks like red and blue or black dark hat on, black shirt with a gold chain around his neck, camo pants. Looks like white and black shoes, and he's carrying a bag or something in his right hand. He also appears to have some type of bracelets on each hand. Now it appears that Mr. Banks and Mr. Vandenberg is talking. Mr. Banks is picking up the victim and bringing her outside.
Who is picking her up?
Mr. Vandenberg, I'm sorry.
This is the fifth clip on the disc. Could you describe what this image is and what is seen here?
Yes, and that's Gillette. That's second floor east corridor, and that's the elevators that come up onto the floor. That's the second floor, and the date stamp is the same, 6/23 of 2013, and I cannot see the time. I'm sorry.
Now, press play if you could describe what is shown.
Mr. Vandenberg appears to be walking out of the elevator. Now he's going back in the elevator door. he's coming back out. Now he appears to be going into the bathroom area. Now you can see a little bit of part of Mr. Banks going back into the elevator. Now you see Mr. Vandenberg coming out of the bathroom area. It appears he's going back, kind of standing in the door frame of the elevator. Now it appears that both of the males are inside the elevator. You see Mr. Banks and Mr. Vandenberg coming out of the elevator with the victim. Now the victim is on the floor. Mr. Vandenberg stepping back. It appears he's getting something with his left hand. He's batting something away that Mr. Banks threw at him. Now Mr. Banks is standing near the bathroom area. Looks like he appears to me that he's trying to get out of the area. Now he has something, Mr. Banks has something in his right hand. And Mr. Vandenberg also is kind of bending over the victim with something in his hand as well.
Which I just paused it at 2:35. I believe it is 16. And I have pressed play again. If you can continue describing.
Mr. Vandenberg has something in his hand. It appears to me that it's a cell phone, and Mr. Banks appeared to he walked up to the victim and appears he was taking a picture of his cell phone. Now Mr. Vandenberg standing in the back with, I believe, appears to me his cell phone in his hand. Now it appears to me that Mr. Vandenberg and Mr. Banks is picking up the victim. Now they got the victim up off the floor. Now they're carrying her away from the east corridor. Now that is appears to be Mr. Batey coming out of the elevator. Mr. Batey and also Mr. McKenzie coming out of the elevator as well.
This is the 6th video clip on the disc. Could you describe what is shown here?
Yes, that's the area right outside the elevator area. That's a camera looking away from that area going down the corridor. And it's called Gillette Second Stair East. And it's the date, the same date, 6/23/2013. I believe the time frame is 2/36/25.
And I have pressed play. If you can describe what is shown.
It appears to me that if Mr. Banks and Mr. Vandenberg still carrying the victim away from the camera down the corridor, as Mr. Batey walking, and now Mr. Vandenberg stopped carrying the victim. Now her back is on the floor, and now the four males are standing around her. I guess you can say, it appears to me. And now Mr. Batey, it appears that he's attempting to pick the victim up.
Can you describe Mr. Batey's attire, just for the record?
Yes, Mr. Batey is wearing a kind of like a polka dot blue shirt, blue jean pants, and it appears to me he was wearing a American flag type of underwear on, and he was having a black and gold shoes on.
This is the 7th clip that is on the disc. Could you describe what is shown and what viewpoint we're looking at?
Yes, that's the same floor, the second floor. That's the other corridor going away from the main floor of Gillette, going the opposite direction, but coming towards the new camera. And the time frame is the same date, 6/23 of 2013, but I'm sorry, I can't read the time stamp.
If you could describe what's shown here.
Okay, they're passing a female who was standing in the corridor. That's Mr. Banks holding the door open. That's Mr. Vandenberg carrying the victim through the door. Mr. Batey is coming through. And now that is Mr. McKenzie talking to the female in the corridor.
And this is the 8th video clip on the disc. Could you describe what viewpoint is shown here?
That's to the left, second west corridor. That is where you got room 213, 214, 215 looking right at you. You got the bathroom on the right-hand side. But that's the area of going away from the area you just seen the people walking up towards. And that the time frame is 6/23 of 2013, and the time stamp is 2/37/40.
I have press play if you can describe what's shown.
That's Mr. Vandenberg carrying the victim. He's taking the left. Appears he's going to his room area. Mr. Batey and I do that with Mr. Banks following. It appears to me he's following to his room area.
And in the middle of this frame, there's a door. What room is that?
The door next to the bike?
The door, I guess,
Okay.
that this person is just walking past.
Okay, that is room 214.
And I believe you've already identified him, but could you describe the person that just walked past room?
I did not ID him. He was a black male in gray shirt and looked like a hat on his head, but I did not ID him.
That came out of the bathroom.
Yes, that is the bathroom area. You see the sink, the sink, and then the two doors for the bathroom area.
And could you note the timestamp of the record?
Yes, it's 2:38:49.
I believe it's 2:38:49. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Captain Harwell, can you describe generally what's shown during this time segment of the video?
Right now, the video is recording. The United System is actually recording everything on this particular camera.
Your Honor, just for the record and for the court's information, there's not any activity until 2:48:55.
You can fast forward.
For the record, I have increased the play speed to 4 times the speed. Captain Harville, if you can let us know if anything is shown during this time.
Yes, ma'am.
John, how much additional video is on this particular segment after the 2:48?
This particular video goes until 3:26:38,
Okay,
but there are other portions.
Okay, what we need to do is go ahead and take our break right now. We'll resume as soon as the break is over. All right? All right.
I'm pleased that one thing we did not address at the beginning of the trial was we would ask for the witness.
Okay, sure. That's granted. If there are any witnesses, they would have to stay out.
Will be in a 15-minute recess. Clock.